Right? Richard Hofstadter wrote a wonderful book entitled Anti-Intellectualism in America, and he wasn't writing about black folk. Right? Come on.
It is a problem. I'm reading a book now called The Dumbest Generation. Don't trust anybody under 30. And it's not just a black problem. So it is not a, I agree, it's not a, but what concerns me is the fact that there is something amiss when I do look at the hard data as it relates to SAT scores and performance. What are some of the problems? And Derek Griffith, in your profession, what do you diagnose as some of the problems that we face?
Well, again, thank you for allowing me to be here, inviting me to the panel, and thank you for hosting this very important event. I always am leery of coming to events like this, excuse me, because I often get myself in trouble, because my perspective on this stuff really sometimes put me at odds with the very institution that I work with. So, to answer your question and give you a little background, I have an 18-year-old son that just graduated from John F. Kennedy High School, who was unable to get into Lehman College because of his SAT scores. And I want to say just real quickly, I'm still shocked that in the year 2009, we're still evaluating children based on single aspects of a child's academic portfolio. That in and of itself is an institutional failing that should be addressed as the senior colleges work to become places of elite institutions. They are continuing, I think, to miss the boat a little bit. So that's my first response. Secondly, my child attended John F. Kennedy High School. He played varsity football for 4 years. He was in the AP honors program for 4 years, and he got a 440 on the math and like a 430 on the critical reading. And I'd like to ask, where's the institutional responsibility in the K through 12 system? Just because you get a Regents degree, a Regents diploma in this city, does not mean that you have been educated. And there's a way in which the public schools have reduced education to nothing but test and test scores, which in the end of the day, we know as educators does not tell you what a child knows and what they can do. So the short answer, it's a very complicated issue. I agree with Dr. Glaude. But again, I think that there needs to be some institutional responsibility, and we need to take some institutional responsibility for what we're seeing in Dr. Glaude.
All right, thank you. Now, I'm not going to be the only question asker. There's a microphone right there, so if you want to ask a question, you can begin to line up over there, and we will certainly want to hear from you. So I don't want to be the one dominating this. Come on, make your way. I'm going to ask another question. Again, my concern as aspiring community leader, as a pastor of a church, that I have a passion for the youth. I have a passion for all youth, men, women, in particular young men, because I see a waywardness. And we have some public safety officers here who we will get their perspectives forwardly. But it concerns me when I see, as you talked about the pants sagging down. Yes, I did wear bell bottoms too. And I did have a big fro. But it seems to me that today, and I need your response to this, that when I was a kid growing up, and when I was cussing and carrying on the block, when an elderly person came by, I didn't cuss no more. And I was respectful. Only because that was my neighbor, that was somebody who lived in the community, and we respected them. And I was embarrassed to continue to act disrespectfully if an older person came by, or just any adult came by.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't go to school and look to my teacher for direction, because I didn't see a teacher that I could relate to. She didn't look like me. When she went home, she went to Westchester. She went far, far away from what my problems were. You know, her issues ended at 4, and mine started at 4:30. You know, so you have all these kids that are going through that, and they don't know anything but to be wild. When you talk to some of these kids, they don't have any hopes in their eyes because they don't know anything but what they see around them. You know, you can paint all the positive pictures, and we can tell them all the right things to do, but it's hard to do it when you literally don't see it. Like, and I think that's kind of what has happened. That there's no figure now to kind of say, hey, you're going to sometimes do the wrong thing, but there's still a way to, you know, to be positive about certain things. You still have to protect your community. So now you have old ladies that are afraid of the little boys on their blocks that they know since they were 4 or 5 years old. They don't know them anymore. And I just think that's been part of it.
That was profound. That was great.
Pastor Davis, if I may, just to add to an extension, I'm just going to ask us all today, as a volunteer director of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, one of the things that we pride ourselves on to engage the youth in the community is to connect with those who walk before us, who have done the work to keep us united as a community. There is no way that our community will continue to stand if all of us in the room here today, get it, or we're here to get it. I'm going to ask you all, when you walk out of this room today, to do something different for a young person. These young people, the other day I was down here in Driver and I was having a conversation with a couple of young men that, no disrespect to Co-op City Police, but was asking them to move because they were congregating. And their question to me was, where do we go? So I'm saying to us, in order for us to allow them, to give them just a little ray of hope, from time to time, say hello to them. Act like they are part of the community so they won't be disrespected to the community. You have to do that. You have to bring that feedback to the community. And I think that's one way we can start the conversation to move them into a progression, as you say, getting out of their way, but we have to show them a way to get it so we can get out of the way.
So far, much of what we've been talking about really circles around the interaction of two words: responsibility and accountability. And when I say responsibility, I'm talking about more than just telling someone that they're doing something wrong. And it's more than just even taking the blame for someone else. Responsibility is being with someone. If they laugh, you laugh. If they cry, you cry. If they have a need, you help them to get whatever it is that they need. And if it's in your power to provide it for them, then you do that. So as the word says, faith without works is dead.
That's right.
Okay, so you can pray for someone, you can hope for their best, but guess what? You should go out, help them, make sure they get what they need. Provide it for them. And so now here's how this works. When you become responsible in that way, that person whom you're responsible for becomes accountable to you. Isn't that something? So now when that young person is on the street and they're about to do something wrong, they may not think directly of you, but they'll think that there's somebody in their life who they're accountable to, and I'm not going to do that because I know someone in the back of my head is going to be mad at me. When they become accountable to you, guess what? They're also accountable to themselves. So now they'll want to do good in school because they know that there's someone again out there who cares for them, who wants to see them do their best. Now this accountability thing, it doesn't just stop with children and young adults, it's also the same for us too. So now how do we become responsible for someone? So let's use another word that we've been tossing around back and forth. It's called mentoring. And what does mentoring mean? Again, being with someone. So you don't just have to mentor a child or a young person. We can mentor each other. Adults need somebody to lean on too. You might know something that I don't know. I might know something that you don't know. We both have a piece of our mutual puzzles. And if I don't communicate with you, my puzzle may be incomplete as well as yours. So let's just keep that in mind about responsibility and accountability.
Right. Just real quickly, I want us to hear what's being said. Because what happens is in the public discourse, in the national discourse, they will basically say that we're responsible solely. But what we have here is the combination of institutions being held responsible and we ourselves being held responsible.
Thank you.
I want to be very clear. My mother, God bless her soul, had her first baby when she was in 8th grade. And my mother did not go to one PTA meeting.
Come on.
Did not go to my baseball games. Didn't show up to award ceremony. You know why? She worked the graveyard.
Come on. Thank you.
So she was sick.
Thank you.
Right? And my dad was at work. and couldn't get off.
Thank you.
And so oftentimes people are holding parents accountable who are in fact parenting, but they're working their behind. So it's really important, given the fact that we live in an environment that's demanding that we
Yes.
work harder hours for more hours for less money, that our public institutions actually serve our kids.
Thank you.
Because some parents just can't get off.
Thank you.
Or they'll lose a job that pays the rent.
Thank you.